Yo guys, I'm Sluggy Beats and today I'm going to show you how to make a dark UK drill beat like Ghosty. Enjoy. So guys, we're making these dark drill beats. It's all about, what key you're in. Ghosty makes most of his beats in C minor, which is made up of C, D, D sharp, F, G, G sharp and A sharp. And sometimes you can throw a B in there, but it's not, exactly in the key, but sometimes it can work basically. Most drill beats are at 140, you might know all that already, but that's what I've got my tempo set as. Now sound selection is very important in these kind of beats. So I've got this one sort of for my chords, which is really dark, and sustained. Then I've got this one that I've set up for my lead, which is like a nice reverby piano sort of sound. So stuff like pianos, violins, choirs, stuff like that is really common in these type of dark beats, so that's what type of thing you want to go for. This is the real sauce here. If you learn these two chords, this trick, then you're going to be pretty set for making drill beats, and that's basically going to be playing C and G together and then changing that G to a G sharp, and it just sounds super dark like that. And with drill songs, the chords are usually literally just two chords. Like, you don't have to put a lot of chords in. Obviously, you can do more chords, but literally two chords usually ends up fine. So I'm just going to record that in, and halfway through, I'm going to be doing it a bit like a bit of an intro. So I'm going to add a bass note in as well. Maybe not that low. So yeah, just to add a bit more depth. Now when it comes to your melodies, you just want to make these really simple. I've come up with a really simple melody just now. Literally just, a few notes usually does it. Also try to keep your notes nice and close together, don't move them all over the place, because that's what creates this sort of really dark feel, is keeping your notes, just a semitone apart. And if you don't know what a semitone is, it's just like G to G sharp, whereas a whole tone would be G to A. So that's why our chords sound so dark, so we're literally playing C and G and then C and G sharp. So it just creates that dark feel. So I'm just going to record my melody in now, and hopefully you can hear how simple it is, but how dark it is as well. So guys, I've done a bit of arranging with the chords, as you can see here. I'm just going to play you through that. There's sort of like a bit of an intro going on, and you can get the vibe for it. So here we are. So there you have it, that's the melody and the chords together. As you can hear, it's very dark, and because of the sounds I've chosen, because I've had good sound selection, that's literally all you need. There's lots of depths in the chord sound, and the lead's nice and reverby. So yeah, like I say, sound selection is very important, but if you have good sound selection, you can really keep it simple. So I'm just going to take these chords and the melody and bounce it in place, just so then it's on the same track and I can sort of play around with it in terms of effects and stuff. Also, I definitely recommend doing this, because sometimes I find if I keep them on separate tracks like this, I sort of get distracted with them in terms of the mixing, when like usually if I just use a melody I found on Splice or whatever, I don't feel the need to mess around with it, so I just find it eliminates distractions basically. So I'm just going to trim it there, Command T, just because that's his like sort of main melody bit. Gonna add some RC20. Even though I've added a lot of depth obviously with the low, you still want to cut some of this out, just because obviously the 808 in drill is very crazy. It's a big part of it, so you want to leave room for that, so that's why I'm just chopping a bit of the low end out here. Lots of nice reverb on your melodies in drill works great, I find. So yeah, personally I think that's sounding great already, and I think it's time to start getting some drums on there. So guys, I've got some sounds selected here from the J Cactus kit. Again, sound selection in drums is extremely important in drill. It's got a very particular sound in the drums, so I definitely recommend picking up, you know, a drum kit that is for drill, so like J Cactus kit or Ghosty's kit. Anything like that is great. I recommend to know, you know, so you know you've got the right sounds. Is what I do is I'll play the melody, and while I'm picking, I'll just sort of like play the sounds and just like hear if it fits. Now the thing that is very noticeable in drill is the Hyatt Rhythm, and the pattern for this is 1-4-3. So if you select 1-4-3 like that and repeat, then you're gonna get that t t t t sort of rhythm. And when it comes to your snare, in the first bar, it's common to have it on beat 3, and then on the second bar, it's common to have it on beat 4. Trick that I like to do is I often like to add like a second hi-hat in, so just for a bit of extra rhythm, and I'll just show you what that sort of sounds like now. If you're gonna do this, I recommend picking like sort of either really dull sounding hi-hat or like quite a thin sounding hi-hat, so it doesn't clash too much, because this is more of like a percussive thing to me rather than like an actual hi-hat thing. And what I do is I'll place it on like beats where the regular hi-hat isn't, so obviously as usual ones are like a 1-4-3, so if I say place it like this, and I get rid of the originals, and you can hear it, just nice bit of rhythm. Then I'm just going to add a kick pattern in. You can go pretty crazy with the kick pattern if you like. I'm actually going to change the snare because like now I'm hearing it all together. It's not really like as hard as I'd like it, which is something you might find if you just, you know, pick all your sounds at the beginning. Let's try this one. So you can hear that's much harder hitting. You might also want to add an open hi-hat in just for a bit of variation. I probably won't bother in this beat, but I'm just going to add it sort of for the sake of showing you. Now when it comes to selecting an 808, you want to have something that's got lots of mid, lots of drive, lots of distortion, because you know when we're sliding up to like the higher notes like this, it's, you know, it's not going to cut through if it's just like a really subby 808. So yeah, again, sound selection is very important. So if you're in Logic and you want to get, you know, that slide sound, you're going to want to change this number to 1. It'll be set as 16 to begin with, and you want to turn the glide up to I think 315 is like a good starting point, and you can adjust from there. With your 808 pattern, you want to be making sure that, you know, first of all, that you're playing the right note with your melody. So for us, it's C is the root note, so C is going to hit the hardest with your melody, and then you can sort of move around the scale for your slides. So we're just going to come up with a pattern now. That's our drill pattern recorded in. I did hit a wrong note. I hit an E up here, so I'm just going to change that. Going to use the Fat Effects plugin, which is just to add some limit in and a bit of distortion. So you can hear, you know, we've got the slides, the higher notes. Like sometimes you can play these 1 octave up, sometimes 2 octave up. It's just really dependent on the beat. To make it easy for you to mix your 808, I usually turn the higher notes velocity down, just because you'll find that these will cut through harder, and I'll turn sort of the lower ones up. So I'm just going to change this end bit here. I'm just going to create a bit of a delay effect. I'm going to get rid of this note and this note, and I'm going to extend this one out like this, and then I'm just going to chop it up. I'm also going to add a note here as well, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to create like a nice delay effect. So to do this, you just want to like automate the velocity like so it's moving downwards, and then it's going to create like a sort of fading away effect. Another sort of cool 808 effect you can do is using panning. I wouldn't do it on this particular one, but I'm just going to show you it on this anyway. So we can move over to here and say, for example, these two notes, we might want to have one going to the left and one going to the right. So we can move this up here and this like this. Make sure your automation is lined up right. So that sounds quite cool, so I'm just going to leave it in. See what it's like an octave up. I like that actually. Now it's just a case of structuring this beat out and adding some drops in and some rises and impacts and stuff. So I've just got a little example of what I would do here on the intro and just like an example of some effects and impacts. That's a nice example of how I'd structure that bit out, and then after that I might just drop it down to like the hi-hat and snare like so, but leave maybe a little drop out on both. And maybe just bring something like the kick back in here and loop that round again. You could just bring it all back down. I'm just going to show you a few little like dropout tricks I might like to do. So like, for example, just cutting like a snare like this can be really effective. So I'll just show you that. And yeah, it just adds a bit of variation. Also like even cutting the first one off. It just creates another little drop within the hook and it just creates a cool effect, I think. You can also go one step further with it and just like take off the kicks as well and maybe just leave the one in before the snare. Which is again a nice effect. So that brings us to the end of the video. Hopefully you've learnt something new. Drop a comment below of what you'd like me to cover next. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.